I will always remember that autumn night when Oliver's brother passed away in a car accident. After that, Oliver became the heir of Harrison Group and had to take care of his brother's wife, Sophia. Grandma told him that Sophia is very lonely now, and he needs to help her. This would not only continue his brother's bloodline but also provide her with support. That night, Oliver came home and hugged me. He whispered, "Emma, I just need to have a child with her to fulfill family obligations, and after that, I won't have any relationship with her. You are my true wife." I leaned against his chest and nodded. At that time, I still believed his words. Not long after, he only went to see Sophia once a month, and later he almost never came home. He rarely came back to see me. I finally understood that his heart had long been elsewhere. Until that day, when Sophia gently caressed her slightly protruding belly at a family gathering and announced her pregnancy. Oliver took the emerald ring he gave me when we got engaged off my ring finger and put it on Sophia's finger. I stood on the edge of the crowd, feeling as if my heart was being torn apart. I understand, it's time for me to let go of this relationship. The family dinner is held in the banquet hall of the Harrison mansion, with the crystal chandelier casting a soft glow, and the guests are chatting freely, creating a lively atmosphere. Sophia leans against Oliver, smiling beautifully. She raises her hand, the emerald ring on her fingertip sparkling under the light. She says that this ring symbolizes the Harrison family, and doesn't it suit me better on my hand? She turns to look at him, her tone slightly playful. The mother-in-law sits at the head of the table, holding a glass of red wine, smiling as she says, "Well said, Sophia, you are carrying the future of the Harrison family. You should definitely wear this ring." Oliver scans the crowd and finally spots me in the corner. He releases Sophia's shoulder and walks over to me. He still carries the scent of her rose perfume on his shirt, which makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. "Emma, Sophia has been under a lot of pressure lately. This ring can help her relax. I want her to try wearing it for a few days. What do you think?" He says it so casually, as if he is just borrowing a coat. But then, Sophia suddenly covered her wrist and frowned, saying, "Oh no, Emma, I almost forgot. This ring is yours. I shouldn't wear it." She tried to take off the ring, pulling her finger hard, leaving a red mark on her wrist. Her eyes turned slightly red as she looked up at Oliver and said, "Oliver, I hurt myself." As soon as Oliver heard this, his expression changed immediately, and he quickly grabbed her hand, saying, "Don't take it off. This ring is for you. I'll pick out a new one for Emma." He turned around, a hint of hope in his eyes. "Emma, it's not easy for Sophia to be pregnant. Can you just let her have it? You can't possibly refuse this small request." His mother put down her wine glass, her tone becoming cold. "Emma, you've been with the Harrison family for 3 years, and there's still no progress. Now that Sophia is pregnant, you're even unwilling to lend her a ring?" She squinted her eyes, her voice full of sarcasm. "You're here having a child for the Harrison family, so don't act unhappy about it. Once she gives birth, you can have another one for you to raise, can't you? Sophia is struggling so much, and you won't even give her this little bit." She huffed. "As a member of a prestigious family, you don't even have this much grace?" I lowered my head, looking at my empty fingers. "That ring is a witness to my engagement with Oliver. I'm afraid it might get damaged, so I usually keep it in the safe." Now, in Sophia's hands, it sparkles, feeling like a knife piercing my heart. I gritted my teeth and forced out a sentence. "This ring really suits you better, and Oliver's feelings are entrusted to you." My mother-in-law smiled gently, and indeed, she did not disappoint me. Oliver looked at me, his brow slightly furrowed. He might think I would question him with red eyes like before, because I never allowed him to be distracted. But my calm way of speaking left him a bit stunned. That night, he rarely returned to our apartment. As soon as he entered, he hugged me from behind, his voice low as he said, "Emma, I know I haven't spent much time with you lately, but I'll spend more time with you after Sophia's pregnancy." I was stunned, recalling the promise he once made to me. "You said you wouldn't be with her anymore after she got pregnant, is that true?" I actually still had a bit of hope for him. He smiled gently, his finger tracing my nose, and said, "You love being jealous so much. How could I possibly lie to you? You are my true wife. She has a child, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to go see her, and my mom wouldn't say anything either." He leaned closer to me and added, "I need to hurry and get you pregnant, so you won't be daydreaming all the time." His lips were almost touching mine, but the scent of rose perfume wafted into my nose. I felt my stomach churn and immediately turned my head to avoid him. At that moment, urgent shouts came from downstairs in the apartment building. I heard someone hurriedly saying, call a doctor quickly. Who will be responsible if there's a delay? Then, the doorbell rang continuously. A servant rushed in, panting, and told him that Sophia had called, saying she had a stomachache and was bleeding, and he should go check on her quickly. Upon hearing this, Oliver's grip loosened, and I stumbled back a few steps, my shoulder hitting the armrest of the sofa, causing me to gasp in pain. He didn't even look back, just grabbed his coat and rushed out. What happened? Quick! Contact my personal doctor and have my car go pick him up. His figure disappeared in an instant at the doorway. I gritted my teeth and stood firm, and Lily hurried over to support me, asking, "Ma'am, are you okay?" I looked down and touched my shoulder. The pain was still spreading. I forced a smile and told her, "Help me get a jacket, I'm going to check on the situation. I have to go. I know that tomorrow my mother-in-law will scold me in that strange tone again." When I arrived at Sophia's villa, the living room was very bright. She was cuddled up in Oliver's arms, her face a little pale, tears glistening in her eyes. She said, "I didn't mean to scare you. I was just so scared. The thought of you leaving me after getting pregnant makes me anxious." She held his hand, her voice trembling. "I can't stand the thought of you being with someone else. Oliver, please don't be mad at me. I just hope you can stay by my side." Oliver lowered his head and gently kissed her forehead, his hand gently resting on her belly, saying, "Don't think about those things. You're carrying my child. How could I not take care of you? You and the baby are my top priority." His voice was as gentle as if he were comforting a child. "This child is the future of the Harrison family. How could I neglect you?" He paused for a moment, his tone somewhat dismissive. "Emma's temper is too strong, unlike you who is so considerate. I've had enough of her. Don't worry, no one can compare to you." Sophia looked up, tears in her eyes, and grabbed his sleeve, saying, "Then can you promise me to come see me every day? I don't want you to have children with her. I can give you more." "What do you think?" Oliver smiled, lovingly pinching her cheek, and said, "All right. Why do you like to act so spoiled? I will be with you every day from now on." Sophia laughed and pointed at her belly, saying, "Feel it, he seems to know his dad is here." I stood at the door, gripping my coat tightly, without saying a word, quietly retreating outside. The night breeze gently blew past. I looked at the moon on the horizon, feeling a bit sad inside. I am the only daughter of William, the founder of Anderson Group, and I grew up with Oliver. In the past, my father hoped I would marry his assistant, Benjamin. However, Oliver had no intention of giving up. He stood outside our villa for an entire day and night, braving the rain, pleading with my parents to arrange my marriage to him. He vowed that he would only love Emma for the rest of his life and would never have anyone else. In the end, my parents were moved by his persistence and entrusted me to him. Before my dad went abroad on a business trip, he tightly held his hand and instructed him, "Take care of Emma, and don't let her suffer." Oliver solemnly promised, "Dad, don't worry. If I ever let Emma down, may I never meet someone who truly loves me in this life." But less than 3 years later, he got Sophia pregnant. Lily stood behind me, softly advising me not to be too sad. "Even if she really gives birth, when I have my own child, I will still hold the position of the legal wife." I shook my head, tears streaming down my cheeks. "Lily, I won't have his child anymore." She was stunned, her eyes wide open. I turned around, not wanting to make eye contact with her. "Since Oliver has messed things up so badly, I won't care about him anymore. I'm not interested in a man like that." Back at the apartment, I sat by the window in a daze. Just as dawn broke, I found an old piece of letterhead in the drawer, which was my dad's emergency contact information. I wrote a line, took a photo of it, and sent it to that number. The next morning, before I had breakfast, my mother-in-law called me. She spoke urgently, telling me to hurry to the old house. When I arrived at the old house, the atmosphere in the living room was a bit delicate. Sophia was sitting on the sofa, and Oliver was feeding her a piece of watermelon. When he saw me come in, he awkwardly put down the fruit and walked over to ask me, "Emma, why do you look so unwell? Did you not get enough rest last night?" My mother-in-law glanced at me and said sarcastically, "She's not even pregnant. How could she not sleep well?" It's truly heartbreaking for someone like Sophia, with a big belly, to struggle to sleep all night. My mother-in-law sat on the sofa, a cup of coffee beside her, and said calmly yet firmly, "Emma, Sophia's pregnancy is an important matter for the Harrison family. She's been having trouble sleeping recently, so she called a feng shui master to take a look. The feng shui master said her villa isn't suitable for the child, and only your main house is the best place for her to nurture the baby." She paused, glanced at me, and said, "You aren't pregnant yet either." I was thinking, how about you let her stay in the main house for now, and we can talk about it after she gives birth? What do you think? Lily seemed anxious behind me, her voice trembling a bit. Old lady, this main residence is the rightful place of the Harrison family's main wife. If we let her stay, what will outsiders think? The expression on my mother-in-law's face changed, her voice becoming sharper. She's been married into the Harrison family for 3 years and hasn't had a child yet. I've been very tolerant by not letting Oliver divorce her, and she's still so picky? She let out a soft cold snort, and Sophia thought to herself, what's so great about having a house in the Harrison family? Sophia wiped the corner of her eye, stood up, and said, "Mom, stop talking about it. I can live anywhere. I'll just endure my discomfort until I get there. Emma is the legitimate wife. I'm just a forgotten widow. I don't want to compete for her things. I just want to quietly have a child for Oliver." After saying that, her face turned pale, and when she sat back down, she looked quite pitiful. Oliver frowned at me, sounding a bit impatient. "Emma, it's just a sweet. You should let Sophia have it. She's pregnant, feeling a bit weak, and her temper is bound to be affected. Once her child is born, you can have the house back. First, it was giving up the ring, now it's the house. What will it be next time? What does giving up the main residence mean? This is not just a simple move, it means giving my wife's position to someone else. If this news gets out, the Anderson family's reputation and my last shred of dignity will be damaged. Everyone understands this, but Oliver still hopes I can be considerate of his sister-in-law. After all, she is carrying his child. Seeing that I didn't respond, his tone became firmer. "Emma, please clear out the house in the next few days so Sophia can move in early and rest easy during her pregnancy." I took a deep breath and stood up. "I can move out today without delaying her recovery." He paused for a moment, frowned, and said, "There's no need to rush." Sophia quickly interjected with a sweet smile, "Then thank you, Emma. Oliver, I want to eat some mangoes. Can you help me peel one?" Oliver immediately shifted his attention to her and replied, "Sure, I'll have someone bring some fresh ones over." Then he turned and sat down beside her, resting his hand on her shoulder and carefully began peeling the fruit. After returning to the main residence, I called Lily and a few servants to start organizing. I whispered to them to only take what I brought with me and leave everything else behind. Lily frowned, looking worried, and said, "Madam, where can we find somewhere as comfortable as here? Everyone's living conditions are different. Aren't you just asking for trouble by doing this?" I felt a tightness in my throat, as if something was stuck. I looked at her, my voice becoming low, thinking that perhaps this feeling of grievance wouldn't last too long. Soon, everything would come to an end. In the evening, Oliver pushed open the door to my new apartment. He stood at the door, his tone a bit awkward, saying, "Emma, I'm sorry for the trouble this time." I interrupted him and said directly, "Oliver, let's get a divorce." His face changed immediately, his brows furrowed, and he asked in confusion, "Are we getting divorced just because of moving?" "Emma, you're not a little girl anymore, you need to understand some things." He slightly slowed his tone, saying that after Sophia gives birth, as I mentioned before, he would only have this one child with her, and we would maintain our previous status. Maintain our previous status? I let out a cold laugh. There's no going back. After Sophia moved into the main house, she became increasingly arrogant. She started to consider herself the lady of the Harrison family, following Oliver around every day, not even allowing him to glance at me. I only had the chance to see him when I went to the old house to greet my mother-in-law every day. However, every time we met, Sophia would always be cradling her belly, chatting about little things related to her pregnancy, drawing Oliver and my mother-in-law's attention away. Finally, my birthday arrived. Oliver rarely came back to the company and found me in the garden of the main house. He lowered his head, looking a bit guilty, and said, "Emma, I haven't been good to you during this time. Today is your birthday, and I want to celebrate it with you properly." He smiled and continued, "I've reserved a riverside restaurant, and I'll take you to see the night view tonight. How about that?" I hadn't had a chance to speak when Sophia came over with her assistant. She smiled sweetly and said to Oliver, "Today I have a surprise to tell you." Then, Sophia took Oliver's hand and gently placed it on her belly. She smiled gently and said, "Oliver, try to feel it." Suddenly, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. It moved. "It's kicking me." Oliver suddenly stood up, his face full of excitement. "Really? Is my son greeting me?" Sophia leaned into his arms, her voice as gentle as cotton candy, saying he was quite naughty, bothering me every day, and that he should play with him more to comfort him. The doctor said that Dad should interact more with the child, so that after birth, he can recognize your voice. Oliver helped her walk out to the garden. I need to be with him every day so he knows who I am. I stood still, feeling very nervous inside. I couldn't help but call out, Oliver. He paused for a moment and turned around to look at me. A hint of hesitation showed in his eyes, as if he just remembered that today is my birthday. He said, Emma, why don't you take Lily and the others to the restaurant today? I'll join you another day. I felt a sudden sense of relief inside. I saw Sophia's proud look behind him and whispered, okay, there won't be another chance. This is my last time. I took Lily and a few assistants and called the driver to take us to the riverside. With the restaurant manager watching, I boarded the private yacht and set off along the river. As night falls, the lights reflect on the river's surface, like scattered stars. Meanwhile, in the Harrison family's dining room, dinner is ready. Sophia, stroking her belly, curiously asks if Emma is in a bad mood today. Is it because I've been asking her to keep me company that she's upset? It's already dark. Why hasn't she come back yet? As soon as my mother-in-law put down her chopsticks, her expression turned sour. Emma really doesn't respect anyone, making me wait for her to eat together. She doesn't even have a child, and she can't even do something as simple as being filial to her mother-in-law. What use is she? The mother-in-law turned to Oliver and said, Fortunately, I had you take care of Sophia, otherwise, the Harrison family would have no descendants. Sophia is very capable. She should have more children. Unlike that useless woman, who only eats from the Harrison family. Sophia quickly reassured, Mom, please don't be angry. I will definitely have more grandsons for you. My children with Oliver will surely be just as outstanding as he is. Her words made the mother-in-law beam with joy. Oliver frowned and asked his assistant beside him, Have you checked by the river? Why hasn't the yacht docked yet? Has Emma come back? The assistant shook his head and softly said there was no news yet. The mother-in-law snorted coldly and said that if she didn't come back, it would be for the best. If she didn't return tonight, she should leave the Harrison family. Oliver felt a wave of unease in his heart. He knew I never liked to stay out too long. Since my parents went abroad, I have no relatives here and have never stayed out at night. He whispered instructions to send more people to monitor the riverbank and to inform him immediately if there was any news. Sophia covered her mouth with a tissue and softly said, Emma wouldn't stay away just because I'm pregnant, would she? Oliver looked at her. She was wearing a silk robe, a limited edition that I brought as part of my dowry. On her hand was the emerald ring, the engagement token he gave me. The diamond earrings by her ears were also the birthday gift he gave me last year. Now, all these things belonged to her. He pointed at the earrings and asked in a low voice, How did these earrings end up with you? This is Emma's stuff. Sophia touched the earrings and smiled, saying, Oh, these were left behind when she moved out. When she was packing, she lost several boxes of jewelry and didn't take them with her. Oliver felt increasingly anxious, thinking, Why didn't I take anything with me? At that moment, a sweating assistant rushed in and hurriedly said, It's bad, sir. Madam's yacht had an accident on the river, it capsized, and everyone on board is missing. They've all sunk. Oliver suddenly stood up, almost shouting, What did you say? The assistant gasped and said, There are many people gathered by the river. It was said that Madam's yacht encountered a current in the middle of the river and capsized. The rescue team is still searching. The captain said there had been heavy rain upstream recently, the current is strong, and if someone falls in, they can't be found at all. Oliver felt a ringing in his head, as if his heart had been emptied. He whispered, No, Emma. Then he grabbed the car keys and tried to run out. Sophia quickly grabbed his arm, anxiously saying, Oliver, don't go. It's too dangerous. The mother-in-law stood up from the sofa, her tone very serious, saying, You can't go. She insisted on going out to eat. Who can we blame? Oliver finally couldn't hold back, turned around and shouted, It's her birthday today. I should have been with her. It's my fault for not going that led to this. The mother-in-law sneered and said, That's just her bad luck. She can't blame anyone else. Oliver's tears welled up in his eyes as he trembled and said, Mom, I went through so much to marry Emma. I can't just abandon her. Sophia quietly pulled him back. Oliver, it's better to let others handle this. Why do you have to go? I'm not letting you go. Oliver shook her hand off and ran out without looking back. Her scream came from behind. When he drove to the riverbank, it was already crowded with people. The wreckage of the yacht was dragged to the shore, and the people around were discussing, saying there was no hope, the boat had capsized, and people didn't even have time to shout. Someone sighed, "This is terrible. If they fall in, they'll definitely be swept away by the current." Oliver ran in front of the rescue team, grabbed a team member and asked, "Why aren't you going down to look for people? Hurry up. I'm willing to pay you to bring everyone back." The team members shook their heads. The current was too strong, and no one dared to go in. "I'll pay $1,000 for every minute." Having money means nothing without life to spend it. Now that it's dark, nothing is clear. How can we save anyone? It's just bad luck. Oliver's legs went weak, and he sat by the shore. He stared at the rolling surface of the river, his mind blank. He ran to the water's edge, shouting, "Emma, where are you?" He couldn't bear to believe that I was gone. He pulled cash from his wallet and handed it to the rescue team, saying, "Whoever goes down to bring my wife up, I'll give double the money. 2,000 for every minute." Several team members were tempted by the money and summoned their courage to jump into the water. Oliver sat by the shore, watching the pitch-black surface of the river. In the middle of the night, someone fished out a high-heeled shoe and handed it to him. He snatched it directly, the shoe covered in dirt and sand. He held the shoe tightly, tears streaming down his face. "Emma, where are you? Come back soon. I want to celebrate my birthday with you. We promised to spend our lives together. I once said I would treat you well, but those words meant nothing." He didn't follow through. I can't hear it anymore either. At dawn, he returned home in a daze. As soon as I walked in, Sophia excitedly ran over. "Oliver, you're back." He seemed not to hear and walked straight into my room. Then he sat down at the desk I used before. The notebook on the desk is still the one I often used. He opened the drawer, which contained the gifts I had received over the years. Every single one was from him. Now, those gifts are still left here. He suddenly thought of something and hurried to the small apartment I moved to. The place was empty, feeling as if no one had ever lived there. He stood frozen at the door, wondering how Emma could live in such a place. "Where are the belongings?" The assistant whispered. "This is what Sophia said. After she got pregnant, they needed to save money at home, so the lady had to lead the way in being frugal. Even furniture and jewelry couldn't be kept." The assistant paused and continued, "The only food allowed is vegetarian because the lady isn't pregnant and doesn't need to supplement her nutrition." Oliver's mind conjured up an image of Sophia living a luxurious life. Everything she wore and used were things I left behind. And I took nothing with me. He walked to the bedside and saw a broken keychain. That was something I made by hand when we got married, engraved with eternal union. Now, this keychain has been cut in half. Oliver bent down and picked up that piece. His fingers gently brushed over the engraved words. It was something I stayed up late to weave with leather cord when we were newlyweds, given to him as a keepsake. He looked at it, his gaze somewhat dazed. He murmured to himself, "Emma, how did we end up at this point?" He reminisced about the past. Was it because of his mother-in-law's urging that he agreed to take care of Sophia? Or was it because he spent the whole night at her villa without returning home? Or was it during the time he stayed by her side every day after she got pregnant? Everything has changed. He covered his face, muffled cries escaping through his fingers. "Emma, I'm sorry. It's my fault you left." At that time, I had already boarded a nondescript small boat, drifting down the river towards the unknown. I took Lily and a few trusted assistants, turning everything valuable into cash. I packed the items into waterproof bags, hiding them securely. While Oliver is with Sophia, I can go out and have fun by myself on my birthday. I planned to create the illusion of a yacht sinking. We quietly switched boats and floated downstream. When we stopped at a remote dock, Dad's old subordinate Benjamin was already waiting for us. He drove a seemingly ordinary SUV, taking us to the new life I longed for. I finally escaped from that glamorous cage. We found a quiet small town in the northwest to settle down in. I opened a small restaurant with the money I saved. My homemade crab soup dumplings have particularly thin skin, and the broth inside is fresh and delicious. And my osmanthus cake is fragrant, sweet, and soft, melting in your mouth with just one bite. These Jiangnan delicacies have enchanted the locals. Business is getting better and better. Through my own efforts, I supported myself and Lily and the others. Meanwhile, the Harrison old mansion is in complete disarray. After my death was reported back to the Harrison family, Sophia's attitude changed completely. She considered herself the lady of the Harrison family and began to call the shots in the old mansion. She calls the servants back and forth, like a queen. Oliver locks himself in his study every day. He clutches a bottle, drinking cup after cup, until the assistant knocked and came in, looking anxious, saying, "Sir, there are several managers from the malls outside. They say we still have an unpaid bill." Oliver, in a daze, waved his hand and said, "No money? Go find my wife. She manages the money. It's with her." The assistant helplessly said, "I asked her, and she said the bridal shop you used to have was sold off by her long ago. Those stores have nothing to do with the Harrison family now." He swallowed hard. Over the past few months, Sophia had received a lot of clothes, jewelry, and health products from the malls, spending nearly 10 million. The managers said if we don't pay soon, they will call the police. Oliver suddenly stood up, feeling somewhat sober. Where exactly was the money in the account? The assistant lowered his head. Sophia said she was in charge of the accounts, but when I asked her, she said the money had long been spent. Oliver stumbled into the living room of the main house. Sophia leaned on the sofa, with a plate of chilled lychees in front of her, while her assistant fanned her beside her. She saw him come in, slowly sat up straight, and said, "Oliver, the baby is about to be born. I want to turn the backyard into a nursery so that when he arrives, he can stay here. What do you think?" Oliver looked at her coldly and said, "This main house belongs to Emma. Now that she is gone, you will move back to your villa after you give birth, and the baby will live there with you." Sophia's voice suddenly rose. "Emma is gone. Why can't I live here?" Oliver turned to look out the window, thinking to himself, "Who says she is dead? I believe she will come back. This house is hers. She belongs here. You should leave quickly and go back to your own place." Sophia's eyes glistened with tears as she choked on her words. "I carried your child for 10 months, and you are still thinking about that useless woman. She is dead and will never come back." A loud slap echoed. Oliver slapped her. His gaze was icy. "Who says she is dead? I haven't seen her body, so I believe she is still alive. The position of Mrs. Harrison will always belong to her." Sophia covered her face, looking at him in disbelief. She was shaking with anger and asked, "You actually hit me? Do you dare to hit me? You said she is Mrs. Harrison, so what am I? Don't forget, you promised to take care of me and my mom." She puffed out her belly and said, "I'm about to give you a child. You said the future of the Harrison family is ours." She sneered coldly. "What good is Emma coming back? She can't have children. She's just a decoration." She paused for a moment, her tone becoming heavier. "Don't forget, my dad is a leader in the business world. Who helped you achieve your success today?" Oliver's face turned red, anger flashing in his eyes as he said, "Are you saying my position in Harrison Group is because of your dad?" He took a deep breath. "Don't forget, you are my sister-in-law. We agreed to only have one child. Once the child is born, you should return to your own life, and our two families will go our separate ways." Sophia held her belly and asked angrily, "What did you say? You want to abandon us mother and child after giving birth? That's absolutely impossible. If you dare to treat me like this, I'll have my dad sue you for defamation. I want to see how long you, President Harrison, can hold on." Oliver stared at Sophia, his gaze like that of a stranger. She twisted with anger, completely lacking her previous gentleness. He coldly smiled and said, "You're really crazy, talking nonsense. If you want to stay in the Harrison house, then stay." After saying that, he turned and strode out. The assistants followed behind him, not even looking back. I never thought Oliver would work so hard to find me. That morning, as soon as I pushed open the restaurant door, I saw him standing at the entrance. He was wearing a wrinkled shirt, and his eyes were severely puffy. He wobbled over, grabbed my hand, and said, "Emma, I knew you weren't dead. You're really alive. I've been looking for you for so long." There was a catch in his voice. "Come back with me, okay?" I forcefully shook his hand off and took a step back. I looked at him coldly and said, "Oliver, you're already married. Why are you looking for me?" He quickly stepped forward, his expression anxious. "What family do I have? From beginning to end, you are my only wife." I chuckled lightly. "Does Sophia count? She's still carrying your child. Stop playing dumb." I paused slightly, my tone grew colder. "Before we married, you said you would only love me for a lifetime, and if you broke that vow, you would lose your true heart forever." I looked him straight in the eye and told him, "You betrayed me. I am no longer your wife. Just leave." After saying that, I prepared to close the door, but he propped his hand against the door frame and said, "Emma, I'm sorry, it was only when you had your accident that I realized how terrible I am. I can't lose you. His voice trembled a bit. I made it very clear to Sophia, her child is hers alone. I've separated her assets. She can no longer enter the Harrison family. His eyes were full of pleading. The mistress of the Harrison family is only you, Emma. I've been waiting for you to come back. I looked at his haggard face and felt a wave of annoyance. Late regret is hardly worth mentioning. A man like this, I've long since stopped wanting. Oliver, I'm doing well now, living on my own, no longer listening to others mock me, and I'm no longer sad about my husband's betrayal, nor do I have to cater to anyone. I've had enough of the hypocrisy and scheming of the wealthy, and worse, you destroyed our past. No matter how much you want to turn back, you are no longer the person I once loved. Every time I see you, I think of you and Sophia together, which makes me sick. How could we possibly get back together? I took a document out of the drawer and handed it to you. This is my signed divorce agreement. Oliver, let's part ways and live our own lives, okay? The paper fell to the ground. He stared blankly at the closed door. Finally, tears streamed down from the corners of his eyes. The man who was once full of life has completely lost me. When Oliver returned to Harrison's old house, Sophia was standing at the door holding a baby. Her hair was messy, and she ran over crying, Oliver, you're back. Look at our son. He looks just like you. Oliver stood with his hands behind his back, coldly glancing at her, and said, We've already separated. What are you doing here? Didn't we agree on this? You and the child have nothing to do with me anymore. How can you say it doesn't matter when Sophia is in tears? He is your child. You once said he would take over the Harrison Group as your successor. How could you forget that? Are you still waiting for Emma to come back and be Mrs. Harrison? Stop fantasizing. The only mistress of the Harrison family is me. If you don't acknowledge him, I'll make him suffer and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. The mother-in-law rushed out of the house, pounding her chest and saying, What's wrong with Sophia? Why do you insist on that, Emma? Are you trying to make me feel bad? Emma hasn't had children in years. I should have made you break up with her long ago. I never liked her from the beginning, yet you insisted on marrying her. Now that you don't acknowledge my grandson, do you want the Harrison family to die out? Oliver rolled up his sleeves and turned to leave. I made a mistake before, but I won't make it again. The only one for the Harrison family is Emma. He jumped into the car, stepped on the gas, and quickly drove away. He didn't even look back at the old house. Sophia stood alone at the door of the Harrison house, holding the child. At first, Oliver said he would take care of her, but he didn't have the board's approval. The child's identity in the Harrison Group is not recognized at all. Some old shareholders privately discussed that since the child is not officially registered, how can they consider him a member of the Harrison family? Unless Oliver personally acknowledges him, but he is unwilling to say so, even if the child is his biological offspring, he is still just an illegitimate child. Sophia sat weakly on the steps. The things she fought so hard for have now become her burden. One day, after a meeting, Oliver came out and found Sophia parked in front of him in an old sedan. She said to him, Oliver, my father is marrying me off to a businessman from out of town, and I'm leaving tomorrow. Can you meet the child one last time? Oliver's heart softened, and he nodded in agreement. He followed Sophia to her rented apartment. The apartment was dimly lit, and Sophia poured him a glass of wine, saying, I'm leaving tomorrow and will never see you again, Oliver. I want to ask you, do you really not plan to be with me? Oliver shook his head, downed the wine in one gulp, and wished her happiness in the future. Sophia looked at him drinking and suddenly laughed. Oliver, your Harrison family is really ruthless. Back then, without any kids, you actually forced me to have one with you. You agreed so readily back then, but now you're pretending to care. It's really laughable. If you love her so much, why are you still with me? Can you really say you have no feelings at all? Leaving me after I have a child is not such a simple matter. You said before that you would build a future with me, so let's go together. You can't leave both her and me with nothing, right? Oliver felt something was wrong and wanted to stand up, but his legs felt as weak as cotton. He opened his eyes wide in panic. Sophia laughed more crazily. Don't worry. I spent a lot of money on this medicine. I guarantee you won't feel pain. Our family of 3 can reunite in another world. Anyway, I've already been slandered and ostracized. My parents have severed ties with me. I have nowhere to go. Oliver, this is all your fault. Oliver's consciousness became blurry. He watched as Sophia pulled him onto the sofa. She placed the child next to him, then picked up a bucket of gasoline and splashed it all over the room. She lit a lighter and threw it on the ground. Ha ha, now it's clean and neat. Our family will be together forever. The flames soared into the sky. Oliver, the president of Harrison Group, and his sister-in-law Sophia perished in the fire. This news quickly spread in the business community, becoming a sensational headline. 6 months later, I heard this news in a small town in the Northwest. My restaurant business was particularly good. So, I decided to rent the old tavern next door and opened a new shop called Jiangnan Flavors. Every day, many customers come here. Some people are curious about my past. I just smiled slightly and told them that my husband had passed away and that I was making a living here. The people here are warm and kind. They respect hardworking individuals. No one looks down on me as a widow. On the contrary, they praise me for being capable. In less than a year, more than 20 suitors came to propose to me. I refused them all. I feel that living alone is also quite good. I plan to go to the welfare home in a few years to adopt a few children, teach them to read, and accompany them as they grow up. This kind of life can be considered quite happy. As for the past, it has long since blown away with the wind.